breathes a heavy sigh, a soul for yellow skies. Cold steel in my pocket, and a fire in my iris. They mistake the silence for a surrender to the status. While I build a blueprint from the logic of the frantic. My spirit is a mortar, my resolve is every brick. The pace is high energy, the air is getting thick. I don't look for luck, I just look for the open seams. A midnight marathon, chasing high voltage dreams. From the basement to the roof, the view is getting clear. I'm harvesting the lessons that were planted by the fear. Internal fire, climbing higher through the smoke. The city tries to bind us, but the spirit never broke. Keep your eyes on the horizon, keep the engine in the grid. We rise above the concrete, yeah, we never gotta quit. We rise above the concrete, yeah, we never gotta quit. The pressure is a polish, it's a grind that never ends. I see the truth in strangers while they lying to their friends.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. We're going to jump right in because there's this one particular story I want to cover. I know everyone is talking about the Carmelo Anthony verdict. I'm really close to this story, not in regards to the family, but in proximity of where these actions took place. I actually live in Collin County, so a lot of people was asking me my take and if I was going to cover this, when I was going to cover this. I'm going to let this breathe just a little bit. I know it's a hot topic right now, but there's another hot topic that one of our young men have lost their lives. Now, both of them have lost their lives, Carmelo Anthony, as well as Cyrus Carmack-Belton, who actually is unfortunately in the ground right now, one of our 14-year-olds. So I know a lot of these stories are going to be racially profiled. They're going to be all sorts of heinous things. When I was watching this case live, they were showing outside. I'm referring to the Carmelo Anthony verdict. They were showing the outside of the courtroom in Collin County, and they doing this live news broadcasting. I was watching the chat and I was seeing the white fist and I was seeing firing squad. I saw people putting chicken and watermelon. I was just thinking, don't everybody eat chicken and watermelon? That's still a thing. But nevertheless, they was even being racist in the chat. But they were telling the juror, the people on the jury, this is not about race, even though everybody on the jury was white, except it was white, one white Hispanic person and an Asian person. Everybody else was white. Everybody else was white. So it was just odd to me that they don't want to talk about race, but there was no representation. That's a component. Okay, I'm not going to lean starkly on that. And also, there was being racial slurs even said outside of the courtroom and even in the chat. But we know how people are in the chat. They just say whatever they want because they're hiding behind the digital barrier. But again, anyway, I'm talking about Cyrus Carmack-Belton. Because when you really look at this case, there's going to be a lot of people. Yeah, I'm a little hot here. AC went out, but I'm still going to give you guys the news, waiting for the guy to come fix it. But nevertheless, when I look at this particular story, we're talking about a 14-year-old boy who's dead. He was shot in the back, and they claim self-defense. And he won the case, right? And because he claimed self-defense, and and I'm going to show you the video here, but he had a gun. Automatically, people are going to go haywire. They're going to get emotionally charged. There's going to be people on one side and people on the other side talking about, well, why did he have a gun? And I'm going to make some references here to the Carmelo Anthony story when he was in the other opposing team's tent, track team tent. Why did he have a knife? Now, granted, they're similar, but they're very different because Carmelo Anthony was at a track meet that wasn't on school grounds and is legal for the knife that he had to be carried. So he didn't break any laws when it came to that. But they didn't claim self-defense, even though that the boy supposedly pushed him. Now, there's going to be a lot more details that come out. I'm pretty sure that his lawyer team and people of the community are going to contribute to his appeal. Because when you look at this, And this is one of the things that I know a lot of Black people have stated. Again, I'm not trying to make this racial, but there is a racial component. Leave Black people alone. I am sorry that Austin Metcalf lost his life. I am sorry that Carmelo Anthony thought that this was the level of aggression that he should have responded with, because 2 young men lost their life. That's what we really need to be humanizing here. 2 young men, regardless of race, lost their life. Then you get into the particulars of that particular case. I said I wasn't going to talk about this, but I'm just going to hit some hallmarks here. He's in your tent, and everybody knows in track teams and especially in track team, everybody's going in everybody's tent. Like, that's a common norm, especially in Texas, by the way. And at this time, it was raining. But there was a minor physical altercation that occurred. What level do you convince yourself in the heat of the moment to say, you know what, he pushed me? Now, granted, Austin, he's a 200-pound football player. The other kid, Carmelo Anthony, he's skinny. Let's say he's skinny. He's slender built. I don't know what's in that young man's mind. Some people say the reason why he carried a knife was because he was getting bullied. There's a lot of stories out there, okay? And we have to let time mature just a little bit until a lot of the details come out before we report on that. But when it comes to Cyrus Carmack-Belton, we're talking about a 14-year-old kid. And I want you guys to hear what his mother had to say. And we're going to kind of break down the particulars, because this young man had a knife.
He was shopping. He took 4 waters, he put them back. He even showed them by shaking his hoodie that he took nothing. And he walked out of the store. He didn't argue with them. He didn't have any confrontation. He didn't curse them. He just walked out. He was respectful. And yet 2 grown people chased him. He fell and they shot him. He shot him dead, like as if he was a dog. And I do not understand how that jury can come back and say that he was not guilty. He was in a runner's stance. It was shown by the pathologist, and they said he was not guilty. It was devastating for me to get a call from Alvin S. Glenn letting me know that Rick Chow was released.
That is what we're looking at here, ladies and gentlemen, because on June 1st, a juror in South Carolina looked at all of it and decided that this grown man who pulled the trigger walks out of the front door as a free man. No conviction, no accountability, nothing. And before anybody jumps in the comments, jump into their emotions, let me be precise about what this is and what it isn't, because precision is the whole point of this channel. This was not a police shooting. This was a private citizen, a store owner. But the question underneath, it is the exact same question we keep circling back to. In this country, who gets the benefit of the doubt and who gets a bullet in the back? That's the question. Because here's what happened. The boy's name was Cyrus Carmack-Belton, 14 years of age. Back in May of 2023, he walked into a convenience store on Parklane Road in Columbia, South Carolina. The store owner, a 61-year-old man named Rick Chow, accused of him stealing. If you notice, I have not mentioned that the young man, Cyrus, was Black. You hear, I didn't mention that Rick Chow was Asian. I mean, even though I just did. But the point I'm making here, let's just look at this non-racially. Let's just for a moment, let's take race out of it. Is it possible? Can we just take race out of it just for a moment? But nevertheless, the prosecutors, they said that Chow wrongly believed the teen had taken a bottle of water. Cyrus ran. Even though we looked at the video here, if you saw the part of the video, okay, that this young man even showed his hoodie that he was on. he showed that he didn't have anything in his hoodie.
He took 4 waters, he put them back. He even showed them by shaking his hoodie that he took nothing. And he walked out of the store. He didn't argue with them. He didn't have any confrontation. He didn't curse them. He just walked out. He was respectful. And yet 2 grown people chased him. He fell and they shot him.
I really want you guys to analyze what you're seeing here, because it's one of our young men in a Asian ran corner store, and he's by himself. And automatically they accuse him of stealing something, which they, even after the case, he didn't steal anything. He didn't steal the waters. He put them back, no less. And so after being accused, he left out, and 2 grown men followed him, right? The woman that you see standing there in the tape, I don't know if you guys can see that or not. She's like looking like, you know, she has him on trial, so to speak. Let me back up just a little bit. Like she's just looking at him like, I know you got something. So he's already been prosecuted in the court of public opinion by her, stating that he stole something. And nevertheless, Chow, Rick Chow and his son chased him outside the store. And Cyrus was shot in the back as he fled. And he died right there. Wait a minute. The young man didn't steal anything. I don't care if he had a bazooka on him. I don't care if he had a machine gun, an AR-15. I don't care if he had the most poisonous substance on earth. He didn't steal anything from the establishment. And then he left and ran, and they chased him, even though they know he didn't steal anything after he shaked his clothing. Cyrus was shot in the back as he fled. And he died right there outside on the ground. See, these are not rumors. It's not my opinion. It's the timeline that came out in open court. And this was reported by CNN and ABC News. Just hold on to that for a moment, because this whole case lives in the gap between them. Fact 1, this was a child, not a hardened adult, a 14-year-old kid who should have been worrying about a math test, not running for his life. Fact 2, the wound was in his back. A man does not shoot a person in the back who is charging at him. You shoot a person in the back who is running away from you. Cowards. Cowards. Not because they're Asian, because Rick Chow is a coward. That's my opinion. Not predicated upon race, ladies and gentlemen. Not predicated upon race. Predicated upon his actions. You shoot a young child in the back who's running away from you because he is scared, not because he stole anything. Keep those 2 facts in your front pocket for the rest of this video. Now the trial came down to 2 competing stories. And you need to hear both, right? Because fairness is how we keep our credibility, right? We're trying to alleviate emotions. We're trying to take out the racial component just for a moment. The prosecution's story was simple. Chow acted out of anger over a missing bottle of water. Chased the child and shot him in the back while he was running away. I don't want to hear anyone talk about, well, has this young man been there before? Has he ever stole anything out of this store before? Was there any other black children in the store? Did they come in the store and they stole from this particular store? I don't want to hear none of it, because none of that matters. If he's there shaking his clothing and showing you that he did not have anything from your store, especially water, and you chase him out of the store and shoot him in the back and you get off on self-defense, how? And Carmelo Anthony is in jail 35 freaking years and he physically got touched. Then I hear certain people, internet influencers, YouTube influencers, talking about he had a gun. Come on, man. Come on. Y'all want to do some YouTube research? Y'all want to do some Gemini research? Let's look at it. I'm going to bring it over. We're going to look into this because the one thing about this whole AI phenomenon, one thing I love about it is the research, right? I love the research. Let me see if I can blow this up. Right here, resolving the trial arguments. Okay, hopefully you guys can read that on your cell phones, wherever you are. It states here, I'm analyzing the critical witness testimonies that led to the store owner's acquittal. Okay. The store owner's son testified that he saw the teenager point the gun directly at him during the chase. Directly at him during the chase. Why are y'all chasing him? For a bottle of water that he supposedly stole, that when he shook his clothing, nothing came out? He put the waters back. A claim supported by immediate 911 dispatch calls and police body cam footage recorded right after the shooting. The defense successfully leveraged this timeline, arguing that the father fired a single split-second shot to protect his son's life rather than out of anger over suspected shoplifting. Oh my God. Let's back up a little bit. Can we just back up a little bit? Can we look at this particular paragraph? Let me help you guys out. Uncovering the trial evidence and reviewing the detailed testimonies from the trial, I found that the presence of the firearm was a heavily documented fact. So he indeed had a gun, with the prosecution admitting that Cyrus Carmack-Belton possessed a semi-automatic pistol. However, a major point of contention was when and how the weapon was handled. Forensic investigators documented that the firearm was recovered near the scene, but prosecutors emphasized that there was no physical or forensic evidence showing the teen ever aimed it at his pursuers, suggesting it fell from his possession during the foot chase. During the foot chase. Now, the lawyer who defended Rick Chow was black. This is the race component that people were arguing about. How could a black man defend this? How can a black man? I don't fault the black man. I don't fault the black man at all, ladies and gentlemen. He was doing his job. He's a defense attorney. He got hired for a job. Some things you're just not going to like, but it's your job. Well, he didn't have to take the job. I'm not putting one of our brothers up on trial because he decided to take a high-profile case in these regards. I'm not doing that. I am looking at the jury and how they claim that this was self-defense, that they chased a young kid. They didn't make a police report. They chased two adult men, chased a young kid, and then shot him in the back. And stated that he garnered a weapon and pointed at his son, where no evidence suggests that that was the case.
He fell and they shot him. He shot him dead, like as if he was a dog. And I do not understand how that jury can come back and say that he was not guilty. He was in a runner stance. It was shown by the pathologist, and they said he was not guilty.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to look at this case for what it is. Now, the Carmelo Anthony case is very critical. I'm taking my time on that. I'm going to let a lot of things play out, but this particular case right here boiled my blood when I got all of the details from it. The prosecution's story was simple. Chow acted out of anger over a missing bottle of water. Chased a child, 14-year-old child, and shot him in the back while he was running away. The defense told a different story. They argue Chow was protecting his son. Wait a minute. Why did Chow have a gun? I know a lot of you guys like, why did Cyrus have a gun? It's illegal for a 14-year-old child to have a gun. Okay, now that we know that he had the gun and he never pulled it out in the store to rob the store, he never pulled it out to point at the lady or the male, there's no evidence to support that. So he didn't even pull out the gun in the store. The question is, Rick Chow ran out with his gun and his, I believe, grown son. And they argued that Chow was protecting his son. Wait a minute. If you was protecting your son, why didn't you just stay in the corner store? Now, granted, if you're a store owner and you believe somebody has stole something, do you have the right to chase after him, chase him down and do a citizen's arrest? Or would you just report it as a crime? But even though he checked himself before leaving the store, showing that he didn't have any water. And here's the detail that you guys have to sit with, because the media will blur it. They love blurring lines when it's us. Prosecutors acknowledge that Cyrus did have a pistol on him. I want to make that very clear. But they told the jury it fell to the ground during the chase and that he never pointed at anyone, never threatened anyone with it. So the central dispute wasn't whether a teenager had a weapon. It was either a fleeing, frightened kid running away, shot in the back, was a deadly threat to two grown men behind him. Here's another thing. When he was in the store and he was showing he didn't have water, did they see the gun? Did they see the gun then? Did Rick Chow see the gun when through made a video? It looks like probably his wife or someone, the older lady who was watching him. Did they see a gun? So let's pretend for a moment they saw a gun while he was in the store, but he never pulled out the gun, pointed the gun while he was in the store. He left the store and started to run. Rick Chow and his son started to chase him. First, he walked out very quickly. Then he saw these two men behind him, 14 years old. He's scared. He starts to run. And they shot him in the back. And we had a jury with those details say it was self-defense. Well, he has the right to chase after him. Why did he carry a gun? Why did Rick Chow chase him with a gun, a 14-year-old child? And the jury said that the state didn't prove its case, right? It should have been acquitted. And I want to be honest with you about how a jury gets there, because it's tempting just to scream at the 12 people in the box, because I keep talking about the jury, the jury, the jury, the jury. Under our system of state, the state has to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the highest bar in American law. And it exists for a good reason, including protecting our own people from railroad convictions. But here's the trap. When a state has a self-defense law that turns on what the shooter feared, reasonable doubt, and reasonable fear, they start to blurring them together. And the blur almost always breaks in the direction of the person still breathing. The dead child can't testify to what he was thinking. Only the shooter can. And that is a structural advantage written right into the law, because now we don't have the account of the 14-year-old child. But I'm thinking as a jury, he was shot in the back. There's just so many tenets to this. Mr. Chow, why did you run outside the store with the gun? Well, I saw that he had the gun. So you mean to tell me you saw that he had a gun, he was running away from you, scared possibly, and because you had your gun, now all of a sudden he pulls out the gun while he's running and points it towards your son, so you shoot him in the back? Why didn't you report there was a young man in your store possibly stole something and was garnering a gun? He wore a red sweat hoodie. Why didn't you report that? Sound like he was on a mission, Mr. Chow. But maybe I'm the only one that's looking at it very neutrally. Some people are like, no, you're on this side. No, I'm looking at it very neutrally as a jury. South Carolina, like a lot of states, has expansive self-defense and stand your ground law. And what these laws quietly do is shift the most important question in the whole case. Was this killing reasonable? Now, onto the most objective ground imaginable. What was in the shooter's head? Not what the victim did, what the shooter believed. And here's the part that should bother every parent watching. Study after study after study has shown that when the person killed is Black, shooters are far more likely to be found justified than when the person killed is white. That's not a slogan. That's a documented pattern in how reasonable fear gets applied in this country. So when you put a Black teenager, a running body, and I was afraid defense in front of a jury, the deck is not neutral because it never was. The verdict sparks debate over self-defense. I don't ever want this to become abstract. So let me bring it back to the kitchen table. Cyrus Carmack-Belton was 14. He was an 8th grader. 9th grade age. The age where a boy is all elbows and attitude and still asking his mama what's for dinner. His parent had to sit in a courtroom and watch the video of their child's last moments and then watch a jury tell them nobody is responsible. His family put it better than I ever could. They said, I'm quoting, a jury watch our 14-year-old boy run away from 2 grown men on video. That's a parent's voice. They knew one of them shot him in the back and they still said no one is to blame. Let me say it again. A jury watched a 14-year-old boy run away from 2 grown men on video. They knew one of them shot him in the back and they still said no one is to blame. That's a parent's voice. Because that is a sound a verdict makes when it lands on a family.
It was devastating for me to get a call from Alvin S. Glenn letting me know that Rick Chow was released. That broke me more than you can ever imagine because my murderer of my son was set free. And it's not fair and it's unjust. And nobody can tell me that this is not racially motivated because I'm not supposed to be on social media anyway, but when I go and I look at my social media, I have racist people coming to my page, going under my son's pictures, leaving the most horrific things, saying that they're glad he's dead, good riddance, and I am tired. I don't want this to happen to any other child. No Black or brown child should have to go through this. No parent should have to go through this.
I don't want it to happen to no child. I don't care what their race is, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic. I don't care what race the child is. I don't want this to happen to no child ever. Same thing with the Carmelo Anthony case. When I was watching the case live, waiting for the verdict, there was all sorts of racial, white power, firing squad, chicken, watermelon, monkey this, monkey that. We're glad he should be hung, all these racial things. But they tell us that America is not a racist country. There's a bunch of buffoons online behind a digital barrier saying any and everything they want. You know, damn, this leaves Black people alone. You see that the kid didn't have any water, but yet you went chasing after him and got freed. Now, here's where people really need to slow down because there's a second act to the story that the cameras tend to leave before they get to it. The family's attorney has already said they are moving forward in civil court and that the matters because the criminal court and the civil court are 2 different machines with 2 different settings. So the criminal court asks, did the state prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt? the highest bar in American law. And the civil court asks a softer question. More likely than not, is this man responsible for this death? See, we have watched this exact split before. We watched this in the OJ case, where the criminal jury said not guilty and the civil jury said pay up. So an acquittal does not mean that the world agreed nothing wrong happened. It means that the state couldn't clear the highest bar in the building. The fight for accountability isn't over. It's just moved to a different courtroom with a different standard. In civil court, the family doesn't need a unanimous criminal jury, and they don't need beyond a reasonable doubt. They need to show it's more likely than not that Chow wrongfully caused this young man's death. It's a different bar, it's a different game. It won't bring back Cyrus, and the money is a code substitute for a son. Every parent watching knows that. I have a 15-year-old son. And when I see Carmelo Anthony and I see Cyrus Carmack-Belton, I see my son. They damn near look the same. Smiling faces, their hair, all their hair, the dreads or whatever. He has it too. It's just the look that people have now. So when you're looking at this young child, I see my son too. So the money is a code substitute, but you want him to pay in some sort of way. And a civil judgment is a public record that says on paper, with the weight of a court behind it, this man is responsible. Sometimes that record is the only justice a family can actually reach. And let me show you the blind spot here, because this is what a cross-spectrum scan reveals. The right-leaning coverage of this story leaned hard on 3 words. He had a gun. The left-leaning coverage leaned hard on 3 other words, shot in the back. Both of those things are true at the same time. And if you only watch one channel, you only get half of a dead child. The fact that the national media mostly glided past it is that the shooting happened in 2023 and the trial didn't reach a verdict until June of 2026. 3 years. 3 years. 3 years this family waited. And at the end of 3 years, the answer was nothing. The slowness is not a side detail. The slowness is the message. Justice that takes 3 years to arrive and then arrives empty teaches a community a brutal lesson about whose time and whose grief that the system actually values. America is not a racist country. That's what they say. But we have history and we have present day information and evidence to prove otherwise. So what do we do? Do we get out in the streets and protest? Do we petition? Do we boycott his store? Because I refuse to leave you angry and empty-handed. First and foremost, we have to be smart about this. Know your own state self-defense laws. Stand your ground is not the law everywhere, and the details decide the case, as you can tell. And if you live somewhere with a broad version, you are living under a different set of rules than your cousin 2 states over. And you should know it cold. You should know your stand your ground laws. Support the civil case that they're going through. Not with a riot, not with a protest, but with attention and with your dollars if they have a GoFundMe. You want to support the Black community? You want to put your money where your mouth is? Because civil suits live and die on a public pressure, public memory, and the camera stand on while things are occurring. This is a form of accountability here, ladies and gentlemen.
This has to stop today. And I just learned today that South Carolina, if it's a murder charge, that they cannot bring in any of your prior acts. Rick Chow shot 2 people before. Rick Chow accosted a child in that store and beat her up with a gun on her hip. And none of that information could be brought to light. And I do not think that is fair. And if that is on the law books, that needs to be changed. Because if that was not there, then my son would have gotten justice.
That's crazy. That's crazy. None of his prior altercations or offenses are not made public. They can't bring them up in the case where he pistol whipped someone, he shot somebody else. South Carolina. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to be very careful out here. And this is not to fearmonger anything. We have to be very attentive to our kids. Wow. I cannot believe a jury. Wow. I'm just flabbergasted at this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm flabbergasted at this case even more so than the Carmelo Anthony story. I'm totally flabbergasted 10 times more because of the details and evidence in this case. But lastly, as I was giving you guys some solutions here, we need to register and vote. And vote your prosecutor and your state legislators. Stand your ground laws are written in state houses and applied by elected DAs. Because public outrage, emotional stance, as she should be, she lost a child. We have to handle things, especially in this country. And some of you may not think that it's going to be fruitful, but it can be fruitful. It has helped us in the past, but we need to really, really dive into the details, register to vote, and look at the prosecutors and legislators who are running for these officers. Stand your ground laws are written in state houses and they are applied to elected DAs. And these are the ballot line decisions and that we really need to pay attention to. And lastly, the one I can't say enough, talk to our young men. I'm teaching my son about the government, right? I created a course myself, and I thought about releasing this freely for everybody. I want to show you guys this very quickly. If you bear with me, I want to show you the course that I created for my son for him to learn government, okay? If you guys can just bear with me, making sure that I have it in the right folder, okay? But I created this course simply for my son to learn about the government, okay? And as you can tell, if you look at the address bar up here, it's from my C drive. But I created this course right here for my son, for him to learn government, for him to learn a sense of politics, okay? It's a 30-module course. And again, if I release this, it's going to be free. I might put it on my ourvoicevote.org for free, okay? But I simply built this. Okay, I simply built this for my son. And it's a course that he's going to go through and learn, right? He's going to be tested and all those things, in case you guys want to see it a little closer there. But this is what my son is going to go through to learn about politics, the government, and everything else. He's going to learn about the three branches of the government: the legislative branch, the executive branch, judicial branch, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, state government, state legislators, governors, and state courts. Not because he wants to be a politician, ladies and gentlemen. He wants to be an engineer. But this is some of the things that our people need to know. And we have to teach our young children while they're young, while we have a hold on them. While we have a hold on our children, while they're in the household, this is when we need to teach them, because we know when they leave the household, when they go off to college, they're not going to do this on their own. You didn't do it on your own until you became a lot older in life. They need to know this now. They need to know the law now. We need to talk to our young men and women. Not because Cyrus did anything wrong, not because he deserved this, because he didn't, but because we are forced to coach our children to survive a system we are simultaneously fighting to change. Both things are true. We protect them today and we change the rules for tomorrow. So out of all of this, here's the big picture. This one acquittal in one courtroom in one state, and as we add in the Carmelo Anthony one, he lost his life as well. 3 young men, now 2 of them black, 1 white, but 3 young men that I'm referring to have lost their life. And I know that people are really going to dive into the details of Carmelo Anthony one, but this story right here, the young man was running away. Man, bottle of water. And it's connected to every other story we cover. One single thread, and that thread is power. Who gets the benefit of the doubt? Who fears counts as reasonable? Who child gets to run home and who child gets shot in the back over a bottle of water? Can we make Cyrus Carmack-Belton Asian and you still feel the same way? Can we make him white and you feel the same way? Can we make him a white Hispanic and you feel the same way? Or is this all about race and skin color and phenotype? Or is this truly about law? Because there's no order. I would dare to say order. But nevertheless, we're going to keep watching this one, especially the civil case that the national media already forgot about. Drop your thoughts and comments below. Hit the like button, subscribe to Blacklogic, and share this video with somebody who needs to hear the truth behind the headlines. Because again, I'm going to say it over and over again, we don't perform outrage here. Even though I'm passionate, we diagnose power in the system that we live in, and then we go to work, because that's only the real answer. You guys have a good one.